Fourscored and seven. Wait, that's not right. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be talking about Fourscored by Andrew D. Meredith, and I apologize for the bad joke. That was definitely the low-hanging fruit, but I couldn't resist. And this, though, is the sequel to Thrice, Book 2 in Needle and Leaf. And as very much as I expected, I really enjoyed this one. I did receive an e-arc of this from the author Andrew D. Meredith, as I told him I want to read, everything that he writes, and he was happy to oblige. And this one picks up a little bit of time after Thrice, and then continues on with kind of the same sort of pattern that I found with Thrice, which I really enjoyed, where we start the first kind of half of the things where it has that almost kind of a cozy feel. It's just kind of lighter, it's every day, we have things happening, although we're still learning about the world little by little with these bits here and there, not info dumping, but just like finding things out, seeing new people, learning new things. And then the second half, things pick up quite a bit, and quite honestly, a lot more than I was expecting to. The end of this one most certainly sets some big things in motion for the third book, and I am very excited to see where this continues to go, because this introduced some things that, while very new to the story, made a lot of sense and kind of continued to just build out this world and just kind of more epic proportions, doing a really good job of having it feel like such a intimate, close story that expanded a bit in the first book, and then we go back to that intimate feel while still continuing to expand and really up the stakes in the second half. I'll be really curious to see if the author manages to do that with book 3, because as much as we've raised the stakes, being able to still kind of keep that part of the story that still feels like this, light, intimate story whilst everything else is going on, I think it's impressive the way it's done, and it's just something that works really well with my taste with this one. We do get to see some different parts of the world with this. We have some returning characters as well as some new ones, including villains, but we also start to find out more things about Joven's past, which is really interesting, and then find out more about just things about Leaf and kind of the nature of him and that whole political struggle that we had from the book 1 too. We also get some more of that's expanded on as well, and we get to see a lot more creatures and a lot more of a deeper look into the different kinds of magic and how things like that work, as well as some other fantasy races. And it's one thing I'll say with Andrew D. Meredith as well, is he's so good at making these very fantastical worlds just feel so normal. And it sounds weird to say it like that, but it's especially in the Collation Saga, where there are no normal animals, everything is a fantasy creature of some sort. And here, it's not quite to that extent, because this one does still have some roots in Slavic folklore, so there's some things that'll be familiar from that aspect. But it's just weaving in these different elements, these creatures, these tales, these bits of folklore, really adding to the lore of the world and the story and the bigger picture. And so that's kind of the 1-2 punch here, is we get that close-knit story that you get to really just be with the characters, you get to find out more, the character interactions feel so real, the relationships characters build feel so real, and just so close, and I feel like I don't want to keep using the same word, so that's why I was trying to find a different way here. But so you have that, which is great, and I really like, and it has that thing, it just draws you into the story, and then you come out with the bigger things, the deeper lore, the bigger stakes, the more magic, this kind of thing. And like I said, this one really did have quite a lot of action in the back half as well. A lot more than I was expecting, in a really good way. It was just, it's meshed in so well. And something too about this book I want to note as well is that it keeps the pragmatism of the character. Nobody else writes just kind of pragmatic characters the way that Andrew D. Meredith does. And it's something that just, once again, makes the characters feel so much more real to me. I've talked about this in some of his other work, work as well. But you have people who just react in kind of just normal, everyday ways to things. It's not always some big dramatic, like, what? What's going on? Ah! You know, people just react in pretty normal ways. And, you know, characters that are set up to be very pragmatic and to not be overzealous about things continue to act that way. Of course, not every character is built that way, but you get that, and especially the contrast when you get the people who are a little bit more dramatic. It doesn't seem as ridiculous. I feel like a lot of authors in books tend to just write everything with the extra drama, the extra strong reactions, you know, which makes sense to an extent in the medium, but also, like, not everything needs to have, like, really strong theater reactions when sometimes a person, and especially when it's the character that's been set up, would react in a different way. You always get that with Andrew D. Meredith instead of getting the reaction that's more common but wouldn't make as much sense. So continue to enjoy that aspect as well. But honestly, if you still haven't read Thrice, I definitely recommend reading Thrice. And if you read Thrice and you enjoyed it, you're going to enjoy this one too, I think, very much. It does a lot of the things that have the same feel as Thrice, but like I said, just adding so much more on top of it, and really, really just having me eagerly awaiting more. I know I'm going to have to wait a while for the next book here, but thankfully, Andrew D. Meredith has a really nice release schedule where you don't have to wait too long between releases of his series. So I'm greatly looking forward to reading more Andrew D. Meredith books, and pretty much everything that he writes is definitely going to be. He's become very quickly one of my favorite authors, and I just have yet to have a book that I really didn't love for him. This was another easy 4.5 stars for me. Which rounds up to 5, and it's just a delightful book that did so many great things that I like. The one thing that kind of brought it down just a tiny bit, which is funny, because in the first one it was that I loved the first half, and the second half, which I feel like most readers would like more, I missed the first half. It wasn't the second half was bad, I just missed the first half because I loved the first half so much, and so it was like a 5-4 situation. This wasn't so much that, because both parts were done super well. There were some bits at the end where it got as close to sort of like info dumps, lore dumps, as Andrew D. Meredith gets. It was all in ways that made sense, and it was great information, but there were a couple of moments where I'm like, okay, I feel a little overwhelmed with a couple of the details here. What's going on? But then everything really clicks into place as you continue, so it wasn't anything that was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? It's like, what's happening here? I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about it. It's all right. It makes sense now. Just that kind of thing. So a couple of tiny little things there, but still a book that I really loved, really enjoyed, and a series I will be excited to continue. That is it for me on this one. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Do It Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, any books, really anything at all. It is a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you. And, of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.